Greetings of peace and love, my people. It is Anna Renee here, and I am your love power goddess here with you all at the You Are Leaders channel. And I would be very appreciative to those who have never been here before to go on ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you will definitely know when new videos are popping up. I have not been as active on this channel in recent months as I had been in previous times, but I am back at the desk, as I like to say. Back at work, so you want to make sure that you do not miss any of these videos. I am back to reading from the METU NETER by Shechem Ra'an Nefer Amen of the Taui Network.com, I believe, his own website, where he has a series of these books, the METU NETER, and I'm working from volume 1. I've been working from this book for 20 years, okay? It's like that. And it's a lifelong study. And what I have been doing in the past is reading what he has written about the different aspects of the human spirit, metaphorized as the gods, okay, such as Asar, Aset, HERU, Sebek, Seker, Geb, Dark Deceased, okay, and Ma'at, Watchet, Nekhebet, and I think I got them all, Tehuti, okay, and of course Amen, okay, Amen, okay. So I am going to be reading from this book, and that's what I have been doing. I had gotten all the way up to HERU, which I just did, and I hadn't done anything before that in 4 months. So I'm back, feeling a little bit guilty for having people waiting so very long, okay. And basically what I am doing is just reading what the correspondences are based on what our elder Ra'an Nefer Amen has given to us in this book, a breakdown of the gods, okay, which are aspects of our human spirit, okay. Metaphorians and metaphors of our human spirit. We are multi-dimensional, as I like to say. We are multi-dimensional, my people, in the spirit and in the natural, okay? There is more than one aspect to us. And when we understand this about ourselves, then we definitely understand ourselves better, right? Definitely so. And there are so many entities, as I have said in the past, who definitely understand this. Maybe not on a full level, but they understand enough to use what they know against those who don't know, okay. That would be our world as it is right now, pretty much. That's why there are so many who fight diligently to keep people ignorant, because they don't want you to understand yourself, so that they can then use the little bit they know. It's just a very minute portion of what the truth is, and use that tiny amount against you, where if they had known the full range, they would realize that there's no point in trying to keep people broken down and oppressed. The oppressor is an ignorant person, okay, of the true abundance of the universe, okay? The oppressor is the kind of person who is focused on his abundance creation, which is money, okay? I did a video about money, then I threw it away because it was just too much. I'm trying to control my tongue, okay? But anyway, my people, why did I go off like that? Who knows? Let me get into what I am dealing with today, which is the god HERU. HERU, okay? From the cards of the METU NETER divination cards. In the upper right hand corner, you see those 4 dots. Those dots are used as you pull the cards in divination. That is a representation of whether or not the way is opening or closing when you're doing divination with the cards. I'm not doing any divination with these cards as of right now, okay? I'm just breaking down what the cards actually represent based on what Ra-Un-Nefer Amen Shechem has written in his book, the METU NETER, in volume 1. And so, people, peace and love and blessings and empowerment to each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here with me. I'm glad to see you here, and I hope to see you again after you watch this video. Make sure you come back and share and like, okay? Alright, so let's get into it. The METU NETER HERU. Okay? HERU. Alright, so as I've shown you all, the card HERU, the god HERU, the hero, okay, HERU. We're thinking hero is a bastardization. This HERU, bastardization. Did I say that right? All right, they got hero from HERU. Nothing surprising about that. But anyway, let's start here. Okay, so when you get, and this is what it is that we break. This is how it's broken down. Kamitic, the name is HERU. In the Canaanite system, the name is Michael, or Michael. We pronounce it Michael. Okay, that's a powerful name. A lot of people name Michael out there. Michael, okay? In the Kabbalistical, Tiphareth, or he has Raphael in quotation marks over here with question marks. He has something to say about the way the Kabbalistic system have named these energies from the tree of life. These are all representations of the tree of life. HERU represents sphere 6. You see the number 6? Sphere 6 on the tree of life, which is a representation of the spirit of human, okay? Women and men both, and equally. So his number is, the number on the tree of life is 6, okay? The 6th sphere. His planet is the sun. Oh, I didn't give you the names. Okay, the Kabbalistical name is Tiphareth. And there's a little bit of confusion. He believes that Raphael ought to be, I'll get to that later. In Yoruba, This energy is Shango Jakuta or Jakuta. Okay? Either Shango or Jakuta. And in the Indus Kush system is Bhuvaneshvari. Bhuvaneshvari. Okay? It is sphere 6, planet sun. You see that sun on the upper right hand corner of the card. The number is 6. His colors, his gemstones is ruby and garnet. Oh, there's a little notation. I'm going to read this little notation right now. Why he has Raphael in quotations over here with question marks. His note here. The Jewish Kabbalists give this sphere to Raphael. But a study of the character and metaphorian of Michael will show that the latter is more appropriate to the 6th sphere and the former to the 8th sphere. So he sees a slight error in the Kabbalistical system in terms of naming these spirits, these entities. I would think that's a foundational, fundamental error right there when you misname the energy, okay, like that. That's a major error right there. That can just throw the entire thing off on the tree of life based from a Kabbalistical perspective. But that's his opinion. That's Ron Nefer Ahman's opinion. Okay, so the time of year is the sidereal full moon in Leo, and esoteric herbalism is represented. The baths are represented by poplar leaves, paraiso, coxcomb, geranium, bay leaves, rompe rompe saragüey, Upatorium odorata. So I'm not sure what that is. And then the next one is Vincedor, and the oils is olibanum and geranium. And then the incense is frankincense, which is olibanum. Okay, so we're talking about frankincense and geranium. I love geranium. I have a lot of geranium. Okay, and the hekau, the mantras, hekau, words of power. The spiritual is Harim, and the planetary is Ong, Harang, Haring, Harang. And the spiritual direction is west, while the mundane direction is northeast. The personality portfolio. Through its action on the Kamitic, the animal spirit, the hot and dry energy of the sun has the following effects on the personality, on the sphere 9 of each and every one of us, which is where our personality lies in the tree of life. The emotional traits, the positive, magnanimous, desirous of power and leadership, full of vitality, hence strong-willed, zealous, noble, lofty, proud, ardent, authoritative, humane, reserved, above using underhanded means in the struggle against opponents. The negative ones are arrogant, extravagant, indecisive, overbearing, dictatorial, excessive pride, devitalized, hence weak-willed, tyrannical, boastful yet empty and egotistical. And then the mental traits, the will, circumspection and insight, social correspondences and careers, functions, people in authoritative position, father, mother in a one-parent household, a king, a prince, leaders, lieutenant, deputy, mayor, governor, boss, supervisor, etc., or self-employment. The spiritual portfolio, the will, minab, okay, the determinant of character, crossroads, transitions, changes, transcending, the essence of our divinity, the essence of our divinity, that sun energy, okay, the essence of our divinity. HERU, the hero. Do we have lots in the Western society? Are there lots of hero movies? There's like a bazillion and one hero movie. The essence of our divinity. Alright. So the spiritual function. The will is the essence of our divinity. In the same manner that we help children develop by allowing them freedom to act within a circle of limitations, the Supreme Being develops man's divinity by allowing him a certain amount of freedom within a ring passed not. The circle that man cannot pass corresponds to Sankara's structural lines that keep the world and its events in place. Outside of these, man has the freedom to choose what he wills. But, as we have seen, success depends on law and order. As Tahuti and Ma'at correspond to the communication of the divine law to our mind, and not its imposition, we have the freedom to follow or ignore it. This freedom of the will to follow or ignore divine law is the basis of our divinity. So our ability to ignore divine law, excuse me people, our ability to ignore divine law is the basis of our divinity. We are gods, okay? We can choose to follow the divine law, but there's definitely a result if you don't follow it. You're not God in terms of the Most High God. You are a God, though. But there's a ring that pass not, as he says. You can only go so far. Okay. Alright. As, let's see, where was I? As Tahuti and Ma'at correspond to the communication of the divine law to our mind, and not its imposition, we have the freedom to follow or ignore it. This freedom of the will to follow or ignore divine law is the basis of our divinity. There is no divinity where there is compulsion. We saw in past chapters that the METU system of meditation is the means of liberating and perfecting the use of the will. And our perfection of this system depends the upliftment of our character and our spiritual growth. The only time that spiritual growth and the transcending of our conditionings take place is when we live truth of our free will in crossroads situations. There's lots of talk in our African culture of our spiritual culture of crossroads situations, the crossroads. I think a lot of folks, not us, misunderstand what that even represents. Talk about a crossroad. Okay. These situations are characterized by, number one, the appearance that we will lose a great deal, real or imagined or perceived, which will be opposed to 2, the truth which must be followed, and 3, the intuition of clever and seemingly convincing rationalizations for not following the truth. This latter is contributed by Set. And Set, Satan is a bastardization of Set by these people. Okay. Alright. It's just a huge amount of misunderstanding of these very esoteric type of spiritual understandings. Okay. By people trying to speak about that which they don't understand, okay, and are too haughty to learn properly. Okay, special correlates. Let's see. I'm going to read all that. Yeah, okay, we'll go. HERU / OSAR. Okay, where's Asar? Here's Asar. Asar. That's Asar. He's number 1 on the tree of life. Okay? He is the God man incarnate. Okay? The master. Okay? The alchemist. Okay? The yogi, the yoga, the whatever you want to call it. The self-mastered person. Okay. There is no act of will unless we are effectively identifying ourselves with the indwelling intelligence as opposed to our persons. Okay, I'm going to read all this. The correlates. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I can read it. Sorry about that, people. Okay. HERU / Tahuti. Tahuti, the will of God, communicates to HERU, man's will, what is to be done according to the point in the divine order as determined by Seker. Man may ignore it and face the consequences, delays, obstructions, and failures in life. For example, not following Tahuti leads to Sekerian repercussions, while not following Ma'at leads to Herukutian repercussions. Okay. Oh boy. HERU / Ma'at. Not only does Ma'at guide man's will to the successful achievement of his goal, but through ordering his life, it preserves his health, and therefore contributes to the full development of his life force to enable him to succeed in his earthly and spiritual endeavors. The HERU / HERU correspondence. The vitality that is needed to carry out the will and perfect the Menab skill depends on a healthy attitude to the indulgence of pleasure. It is harmed by too much, as well as excessive suppression of the urge to pleasure. The process of willing an act or event must be conducted through visualization. This is the meaning of the I, Lutchat, of HERU, and not through verbal thinking. The Sesh METU, NETER, the great Kamitic system for thinking complete thoughts without verbalizing them, is a major source of success in the use of the will. HERU Sebek, where there is no wisdom, Tahuti, to guide our will, we are victims of our opinions, etc. See Sebek. HERU / Oset. The true strength of the will, the ability to carry out what we will, depends on taking our goals into mediumistic trance, meditation stages 1 through 3. HERU / Gev. The vitality that is needed to support the will depends on our adherence to the laws of health. Summary of HERU's functions. It is the responsibility of HERU to ensure that the emotions and thoughts originating from the other faculties do not interfere with the efforts of the indwelling intelligence to expand its sphere of influence to the external part of our lives. The key phrases. The effort urge to rise to prominence, to be independent, urge to freedom, by cultivating expertise in Menab, by being self-reliant, quote-unquote, confident. The negative, hoping to be compelled to do right, ignorance of the will's freedom from emotional compulsion, ignorance of the will's dependence on wisdom, lack of Menab, due to arrogance, anger, impatience, a strong / weak life force, through leadership, the urge to lead. Biological correspondences. Physiology. The sun, quote-unquote, corresponds to the vital energy that is the basis of our constitution, our overall ability to resist illness and heal ourselves, as well as the gauge of the spiritual force that is required for us to carry out our will. It is also the principle governing our cardiovascular system, especially the heart. The pathologies. Cardiac problems, arterial circulatory problems, sthenic but not too high fevers. Kamitic therapies, cardiac, alterative, constitutional, homeopathic remedies, regardless of organ affinity. Tonics, Chinese medicine, heart/small intestine system, heat and fire disease pattern, /detoxify and drain fire, and enrichen yin, Coptis detoxifying formula, heart draining formula, great yin supplementation pills, etc. The spiritual counsel. When you receive a HERU reading, you are being reminded to perfect and utilize your Min-Ab meditation skills, as HERU could only defeat Set through the wise counsel of Tehuti and through adhering to the law of Ma'at. You are advised to seek counsel from someone in an authoritative or leadership position. If you are the head person, then make sure to consult the oracle and see a sage or master of the subject at hand. From another perspective, you might be counseled to remember that power is not an attribute of the will. Whatever you are not in the habit of performing or are just setting out to achieve must be impressed upon your life force through mediumistic trance, perhaps through Hekau, and nourished through enjoyable visualizations. Alright, my people, so let's see. Let's read the rest of these goodies in here. These books, this is so important to our understanding of ourselves. We can barely talk about how important this is. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the book and hit the places where he has done some breakdown for. Okay, so now let's start right here. There are a great deal of misunderstandings that have gained permanence in the thinking of the majority of Egyptologists. Leading these is the popular misconception that HERU is the sun god. It is damaging on two counts. For one, it is a perversion of the true meaning of the deity, and for another, it perpetuates the slur that African people worship material things, sun, rivers, lakes, animals, etc. In a qualified sense, we can say that the sun is used as a metaphor to lead thinking to the understanding of the set of phenomena under the control of the natural force labeled HERU. Specific to our present consideration is the division of the human metabolism into two phases. One is characterized by the rise of bodily temperature, and the other by its decrease. Each phase has its set of temperament, dependent or related physiological and psychical functions. Those that are directly related and dependent on the rise in temperature above the mean can be metaphorized as solar, the very extreme stages as Martian. The opposite phase is assigned to the Moon, Mercury, and Saturn. The mean between the two extremes is assigned to Venus and Jupiter. HERU corresponds, therefore, to the solar phase of the psychical metabolic cycle, which is mediated by noradrenaline and other chemicals of the sympathetic nervous system. It enables us to become and remain awake, Pert M. HERU, to externalize our focus of consciousness, to reason, pay attention, to carry out our will, to utilize the organs and faculties of external activity, the eyes, frontal part of the cerebrum, the hands, the legs, etc. HERU corresponds to our will, which is the freedom to follow or reject divine law, and our emotions. This freedom is the crux of our divinity. Without it, man would be compelled to follow the structural shaping forces of order which manifest in the 10th sphere as the instincts that compel all other creatures to obey the law, in which case he could not be held accountable to law, human or divine, let alone be considered the likeness of God, quote unquote. Hence, spiritual growth occurs only when behavior and actions are initiated independent of emotional impulses. For example, one ignores them. Many people are ignorant of the intrinsic freedom of their will, or are so habituated to acting out of emotional impulsion or seeming compulsion that they voluntarily renounce their intrinsic mastery over their spirit. This defaulting to the emotions is represented by HERU Kinti Amati, or HERU the blind. The other common misconceptions about the will is the belief that power is an attribute of it. The ability to achieve one's will is therefore spoken of as strength of will, etc. But the very factors that make the will intrinsically free of emotional, the power part of our being, influence, also denies it of power as its attribute. A major correspondence of HERU, or Shango, the sun, etc., is the king and all people in authority. His function is to command the people and the army to carry out works. He does not have the power to do it himself. Similarly, when we declare our will to achieve a goal or carry out a behavior, we are commanding another part of our being which possesses the attributes of power. This is Ra, our life force. It is of interest to note that the symbol of Ra is a serpent surmounting the solar disk, and all of its creative functions are carried out through the agency of Hekau, words of power. We should not be surprised that the most primitive, hence most powerful part of our brain, the reptilian brain or R complex, is responsive to sound, waves, and rhythm, and not ideas. We should not be surprised that the most primitive, hence the most powerful part of our brain, the reptilian brain, or the R complex, is responsive to sound waves and rhythm, and not ideas. Perhaps someday Western psychologists will realize that this part of the brain is the doorway to the root-shaping factors of our behavior, as well as the powers of nature. The supreme way, then, of willing events is through the chanting of the Heka controlling the physical manifestation. This manner of declaring our will is symbolized by Harpocrates, for example, Heru the child. He is, wait a minute, Harpocrates. Anyway, let me not go there. He is depicted emerging from a lotus wearing a red and white crown, holding a flail and crook, see Appendix A, in one hand while making the sign of silence and chanting Hekau. The lotus, which is a flower that requires a great deal of sunlight. It closes with the setting sun, opens with its rising, is a symbol of the psychic centers, chakras, wherein manifest the forces represented by the words of power. The sign of silence and chanting Hekau which is made by pointing the index finger to the mouth, symbolizes chanting combined with the cessation of ideation as the supreme means of expressing the will. Our willingness to carry out our will, as we all know so well, depends greatly on our state of vitality. HERU is assisted in his work of protecting the work of Alsar on our behalf by his 4 children. Hapi, who represents a northern force and protects the small viscera of the body. Tuamutef represents the eastern and protects the heart and the lungs. Amset represents the southern and protects the stomach and large intestines. And Keb-Sinuf represents the western and protects the liver and gallbladder. There is more than just mere symbolism at work here. But the heart of the teaching is that by observing order, regularity, and the cycles governing the body's functions, the health of the vital organs were ensured, and thus the vitality. It is thus that we secure and preserve the ability to maintain the clarity of mind that is necessary for the practice of Men-Ab, and the sense of vitality that supports our willingness to carry out our will. Compare this with the common belief, even among psychologists and mind power experts, that willpower is developed through mental exercises. Yes, he is always putting these Westerners to shame with their understanding of these kinds of knowledge that we understood very well back in those old days, at least our most wise people back in the days of Kemet. Okay, so let's see, what does it say here? HERU, the possession of our will. The freedom to follow or reject divine law is the basis of our divinity. It is the one thing that clearly separates man from all other creatures on earth. It is the only free element in man's being. This brings us to one of the most important, if not the most important principle governing spiritual realization. While heaven, spheres 0 through 3, and earth, spheres 7 through 10 on the tree of life, seek to coerce us to follow its mandates, in other words, the spheres of 0 through 3, which are a representation of heaven, wants us to follow those mandates, yet the spheres 7 through 10, which are the earth spheres, want us to follow their dictates. That's part of why we always we be struggling. We have 2 warring systems within ourselves. Okay, seek to coerce us to follow its mandates through structures and impulses, respectively. Living according to the principle governing the will is characterized by actions taken free of emotional coercion from below, or structural impositions from above. This is so important, as most students of spirituality so dependent on and habituated to acting from emotional compulsion waste their opportunities for spiritual development, waiting and hoping for an impulse from above to force them to live truth. But how can we attain to freedom without effort? And how can we make the effort if there is no freedom? Yes, no freedom, no effort. No effort, no freedom. No justice, no peace. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what it says here about HERU. Yes, my people. Woo, boy. Love all of this. This is what helps us to live our lives. This book, I think I said it before, this book is like a Bible. is more powerful than the Bible, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be blasphemous, okay? The Bible is an occulted book anyway, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean there's a lot of metaphoric stories, metaphorian type stories inside that Bible. The Christian Bible, I should say. It's not meant to be taken literally, but we're not going there right now. HERU, spiritual. Excuse me. An enlightened will, HERU positive, knows that all actions and undertakings must begin in the freedom from emotional influences. Ultimately, no sane person is ever compelled to act. He is either ignorant of his intrinsic freedom to choose to follow or reject the impulses from the animal part of the spirit, sensual cravings and emotions, or he chooses not to follow the law of heaven, ma'at, which is always applied to him with the gentleness of a feather. He therefore enlightens himself regarding the true nature and purpose of the will, and the means of effectively using it, men'ab, the science of using the will to secure one's goal by allowing the higher values to lead over the emotional forces. In the mundane, it is the ability to understand the abstract and concrete unifying and separating functions of all spheres and their coordination for the carrying out of the undertaking. If you are deficient in these abilities, you must seek the assistance of one who meets the criteria. As these qualities are cultivated through supervisory and leadership positions, the people who could best assist you are those who are successful in the roles of supervisors, heads of household, bosses, kings, presidents, etc. In all cases, whether you are capable or not, your success depends on receiving counsel from someone above you. It is important, then, to cultivate respect for elders, authorities, and masters, quote-unquote, in particular fields or of life matters, sages. Meditating on the Heka of HERU will attract such persons to you and assist you in establishing the mode of being receptive to higher counsel, yet maintaining the freedom to make your own decisions. This receptivity differs from Osset's in the sense that she follows without questioning or going through a decision process. Note: it is important to note that the key mental ability functioning through spheres 4, 5, and 6 is understanding, literally to stand under. It corresponds to the ability to go into waking trance and perceive the abstract principles governing specifics, separating them and unifying them. If you receive any of these METU in a reading, and you lack the information, abstract blueprint, mandala, cosmograms, etc., or the ability to think abstractly, you must seek counsel from one who meets the criteria. Okay, my people. And I think we have just finished. So yes, my people, thank you once again for being with me as I have read from the METU NETER, Volume 1 by Ra-Un-Nefer Amen. Very, very powerful information for us to help us understand who we are, understand our spiritual selves. Okay, a lot of us are just at complete loss, and it just seems to be something that is just kept hidden, from the masses of people, just to keep us ignorant. And I've come across this kind of stuff in a lot of different religious orders. It's a universal kind of thing. It's just that those in power want to keep others ignorant. It's a type of power. It's a worldly kind of power. It's not true power. It's a kind of power that's weakness. Really, it's not power. Okay, it's a weakness and a lack of understanding of the universal laws of beauty and strength and power that have been blessed to each and every one of us. So there's a whole lot of ignorance about these basic things, so that when you come to it finally at a certain stage in your life, if you're blessed to come to it, it seems so overwhelming. It is something that you should have been learning throughout your life, But this is part of it as well, obviously, because it just keeps happening over and over. This information is hidden, but not really hidden. It's not hidden in a way that people who think they're hiding it are hiding it. They think they're hiding it, but they're not hiding it. It's hidden and it's occulted, but not in the way that these oppressor types, and I'm talking about all different kinds of religions, not just westernized religions, okay? The way they think they're hiding it, it's not really the true way that it's being hidden. It's above them, okay? They think they're doing something they're not, okay? But it's here for us if we are diligent to dive in and find it, okay? And that is what I've been doing to the best of my ability, and things have been revealed to me, tiny bit by tiny bit, tiny bits, that helped me to figure other things out. It's for us to do, and I am blessed to read from this book. So there it is, HERU, the hero. Peace and blessings. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Please like and share this video as well. And make sure to subscribe to my second, I have 3 channels actually. But my new channel, which is Conjuration, where I will be talking about less of these high kind of topics, more reality and earthly kinds of things in terms of our ability to speak our truth to power for ourselves and the things that we deal with on the earth realm, in the natural, in our regular lives, okay? So make sure you subscribe to that channel, and I will be very happy to welcome you in. Brand new channels, only a couple weeks old. So peace and blessings. My throat's killing me because I've just read twice, so that's 2 hours. My throat is tight right now. So thank you all. Yeah, this has been 48 minutes, so yeah, pretty much 2 hours. Thank you all once again for being here. Make sure that you stay connected with me, because I got more coming. All right, thank you all. Peace and love.